Why don't you give a summary for our listeners, what you would do to encourage and facilitate longer work lives, or at least the recommendations that you're making?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just point out very briefly that we're actually, compared to a lot of other developed countries, pretty well positioned to do this. Uh, in large part because we have flexible labor markets. Things like job guarantees and seniority pay scales are a big obstacle to longer work lives because older, if pay gets ratcheted up along with age automatically, older workers become expensive. If you can't fire a worker you hire, the case in France and any number of European countries, that makes it less attractive to hire workers. So we're somewhat better positioned, maybe even substantially better positioned. We also have age discrimination laws, which, although not always effective, are far more robust than those in most developed countries. So what additionally could be done? In terms of employment policy, certainly new investments in lifelong learning, certainly more flexible leave policies, both of which would benefit younger workers as well as older workers. Phased retirement, which is becoming more common but is still far from universal. In terms of government policy, one of the big, I talked about how the disincentives to retaining or hiring older workers are less here than many other developed countries. Well, one place where we do have a big disincentive is the Medicare as secondary payer rule. In general, if an employer has more than 20 employees and offers employer-sponsored health care, then the employer plan is the primary payer and Medicare is the secondary payer. Changing that, reversing that, would involve a loss of FICA revenue, but would be a big spur to elderly employment. And the loss in FICA revenue would probably be more than compensated by the gain in income tax revenue. In terms of Social Security, we talked in the first segment of the show about whether raising retirement ages was necessary, and the answer is no. It's not necessary. I'll come back to retirement ages in a minute. But there are two relatively minor reforms to Social Security that would make a significant difference. The current benefit formula only counts your highest 35 years of work. Essentially, if you've worked 35 years, unless your income is rising, right, significantly each year, you're getting little or even no extra benefit from those extra years of work. So the benefit formula could be restructured in a way that takes into account the entire wage history, which would reward longer careers. Probably an even bigger, you could get an even bigger impact from a second relatively minor reform. And what suggests this reform is that past age 70 in Social Security, you don't earn additional benefits, okay? But you continue, and past the early 60s, because of this point about only 35 years are counted, you're probably earning negligible benefits. Yet you're continuing to pay full FICA taxes. Now, to use some economic jargon, the elasticity of labor is very high at older ages, okay? You can tax the bejesus, you can tax the heck out of people in their 30s and 40s, and they have to work. They've got no choice, okay? Yes, higher taxes may discourage how much people work, or they may, I'm not saying they don't have an impact, but the elasticity, the choice to work or not work, it generally isn't there. At older ages, it often is. And so if you were to reduce FICA taxes for workers past the full benefit retirement age, or even grant people a paid up status, right, and fully exempt them from FICA taxes, that would have a very large impact on employment. And yeah, you'd lose FICA revenue, but that would be much, modeling suggests, that would be more than compensated for by the extra income tax rate. So those are the big ones. In terms of retirement ages, raising the full benefit retirement age doesn't make that much difference. It's just a benefit cut. People call, we're raising, it used to be 65, now it's going to be 67. All that means is that you're getting lower benefits at each age. It isn't really an increase in the retirement age. Increasing the early retirement age would have a big impact on employment, but it could also impose significant hardship.